I am Paco Camacho and I am a human rights worker working in a local NGO to help promote human rights and strengthen CSOs in their advocacy to promote human rights and address pressing human rights issues in the country. ICT or information and communication technology serves many roles in human rights advocacy, from strengthening internal processes of organizations to promoting raising awareness and delivering services to groups that are vulnerable to human rights abuses. ICT is also relevant in terms of engaging a broad audience and getting messages out there at a scale that's needed to make sure that the right people are able to know more about their rights and are able to fight for their rights. Yes, ICT is quite important in making noise in social media, for example, so that violations are spotlighted and that these abuses are um, brought to a larger audience to jumpstart conversations around legislative reforms, perhaps that are a bit anti-human rights, like the reimposition of death penalty or the lowering of the minimum age of criminal responsibility. CSOs are now more and more beginning to embrace technologies such as teleconferencing, having their own internal secure networks as an organization to protect against hacking or digital attacks, and also are subscribing to more and more platforms for data analytics, social listening, so that they're plugged into what's going on in social media, so that they're able to offer narratives of their own and are able to engage and perhaps interrupt dominant authoritarian or populist narratives. Yeah, so the human rights community is a very small community, but it is very diverse. One common thread that runs across most of the CSOs I work with is that they are shaped and influenced by experiences during the martial law years or the struggle to restore democracy throughout the 70s and the 80s. So there are old guards still within the CSO community, and they are quite influential in shaping campaigns, advocacies, and how things are run and what are being prioritized by different NGOs. But there are also new NGOs, newer NGOs who have um, more more focus or more specialized focus on new and emergent causes like LGBTI rights or digital rights. And so it's a bit diverse in the sense that there are very traditional organizations and there are a bit more savvy organizations when it comes to the use of information and communication technology. Slowly, everyone, I would say, is starting to, at the very least, think about how they can improve their own internal processes and their advocacies with the use of social media and technology so that they're more efficient as an organization and that they're also able to reach the public at a scale that would make an impact in terms of raising awareness or building support for certain causes. Yeah, so the COVID pandemic was really a moment where human rights organizations had to pivot really quickly, as with most other sectors or industries. The pandemic removed NGOs from the communities they've worked with, and there was uh, a lot of rethinking about how NGOs can still interact or engage with their constituents and how to interface with them. Because most organizations work on the ground, and so being prevented from going down to the communities and really interacting with local advocates and local stakeholders has forced the human rights sector to explore tools that would make their work more safe in the context of the pandemic, and also quite a challenge for everyone when the pandemic started. But I think over the past 2 years, things have normalized a bit in a sense that many organizations and many advocates I know within the human rights community have began to explore the actual utility of technology in terms of reaching their constituents. I know of one organization who provide free legal services in the past via their offices or their legal missions to communities. They have migrated these services to a Facebook chatbot, which was a bit challenging at the start, but because they experimented and iterated the process, they have now served more clients than they have ever served before the pandemic. And they're also putting out information and educational materials through this chatbot. So it's a success story in a sense that this wouldn't have happened without the pandemic, but it's also a uh, a proof of concept that with technology you can improve and even become more effective as an advocate for human rights. Yeah, I think the biggest concern, but also offers a lot of opportunity, is the the disinformation ecosystem that we live in. In 2016 and even now, especially during election cycles, human rights organizations are often at the defensive side of countering populist or authoritarian narratives online. And this has given everyone, or has compelled everyone to rethink their strategies and the tools that they use to engage the public. So the first recommendation I would give is for human rights organizations to really think about their role within that space where everyone is online, everyone is using different platforms and social media, everyone is getting their information from influencers, and a lot of Filipinos are online now more than ever. From school to spaces for entertainment and even in making political choices. So that's here to stay, and organizations would be encouraged, or it would be imperative for them to be active players in those spaces. We've seen momentum within the NGO sector that points to a more serious investment in this area. I would also recommend um, CSOs to hire younger advocates, because these are the ones who bring in fresh perspectives and who are digital natives, savvy at using social media and also different platforms for communication, not just internally but also with the public. Um, bringing in fresh blood would really reinvigorate the sector as a whole, in terms of different communication approaches and tools to get messages out there. I would also recommend the NGO sector to also be cautious about the perils of being plugged in online all the time and migrating all operations online, because the threats are quite serious. We saw several instances of attacks on websites, for example, that are purportedly state engineered. We're also seeing a lot of harassment online. Um, Misogyny is rife within social media. And so, with the benefits of information technology, also come the perils. Mental stress or anxiety for communication workers or those who are managing social media accounts is quite prevalent within the sector. So take care of those who are at the digital front lines. Make sure that they are safe, that they are able to tune out, and that policies are in place to make sure that digital advocates are safe and are able to access wellness services should work become toxic and stressful for them.